Then we're rolling. Um, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Daniel?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm so excited to start this. And let's start off, by sort of introducing ourselves. We are story hunters. We're based in the most mysterious city of Los Angeles, and we're doing this podcast where we ask people to share their supernatural stories, anything weird, unexplained, doesn't matter. And basically, this is a safe platform where you just share your story. So we tell stories. We're not trying to prove or disprove anything. We're not making fun of anyone. So this is definitely a free space where we just talk and exchange some supernatural experiences. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what we're going to talk about today?
I feel that. My name's Cam Jennings. I am a self-educated professional, so to say. I didn't go to college, dropped out of high school. Found myself in pretty good footing, and I attribute a lot of that to a supernatural experience I had when I was, man, I want to say 14 or 15. That the last time I had an experience around that supernatural saga, man, it was almost, I want to say like 6 or 7 years ago, probably around like 2016-ish. It was definitely in 2016. Got me out of a really bad situation, and I haven't had it happen since. But when I saw your casting call, I'm like, that might fit, and let's get this story on paper, because there's a lot of times that I've just tried to talk about it to friends and stuff like that. They're like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? So it's been a while since I've discussed it, but for the right audience, let's rip open some old scabs and see where it gets us.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And that's really relatable what you're saying about trying to tell a story to people, but they wouldn't really understand because they're not the right audience. I personally myself have so many stories that, they need to be told, but there has to be like the right audience for it. So I can certainly relate for that. So I guess before we go into stories, I think I heard you saying that your recent supernatural experience got you out of a bad situation. Um, so, would you say that your supernatural experience was sort of like life saving? Was it really something positive?
It's saved my life multiple times.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Absolutely. I'd say as a result of it is when I'm in a near death situation or near death experience, a really dangerous, shady situation, that's when it pops up more. And I'd say that a lot of the reason I haven't experienced it since, yeah, I want to say 2016. I can't believe that's been 9 or 10 years now. Um, is also because I haven't been poking my nose around places that it doesn't necessarily belong. You know.
Got it. Yeah, it's really interesting because most people relate supernatural experiences to something negative. They're like, oh, I've seen a ghost and that really scared me. And, some people feel traumatized or something like that. But I find your experiences really outstanding and really unique because they were actually able to bring some positivity to your life. So I think that's really amazing.
Well, I mean, I was traumatized at first. I thought I was, next for a straitjacket at first. And there were a lot of years that I didn't talk about it because I didn't want a crazy label on me. You know what I mean? But also growing up, like I was a real big AM radio head, and like when Coast to Coast was a big thing, I tried to call in a couple times and just never made it past the screener because it's not a Bigfoot UFO, standard cryptid creature type story. Like it really is my own story. Um, I think it ties in with Judeo Christianity somewhere along the lines of Native American spirituality because it happened on the site of the Battle of Wounded Knee. Um, uh, so yeah, that's where that is, and yeah, I've always tried to use it as a strength, not a weakness. I've had a couple other supernatural things happen to me. I dropped another story that I'm sure we'll get into in the course of this one because it happened kind of in between the start and the finish of this, even though it's completely unrelated. But yeah, it's not the most common ghost story. Like it is, it's kind of unique. So
Sure, and that's definitely what we're looking for. Yeah, I mean, I would assume that back in the day it was really popular to talk about those Bigfoot, UFO, zombie slash ghost stories. But like, I guess that nowadays people are sort of tired of it, and they want to hear something unique, something I guess more genuine and personal, like you mentioned, something related to Judeo-Christian values or something related to like Native American supernatural experiences. And I think this is something that's more unique. This is something that we truly need. Yeah, so let's start with your very first supernatural experience, how it happened, where it happened, how did that make you feel, and how did that affect your life?
well, I was about 14 or 15. I was really involved with the youth group. I kind of went to the only mega church in Casper, Wyoming. The year before that, I had gone on a mission trip to Ensenada, Mexico, where we served in a shelter of sorts. It was a lot of single mothers and their kids, a lot of people escaping cartel stuff, a lot of people just escaping real world stuff. And um, let's be honest, a lot of them were on their way up north to California, whether legally or illegally. I don't care. I was there to help them. Um, that trip really touched me deeply. So the next time there was an available opportunity like that with my church, I took it. But it was only to a Native American reservation, like 3 or 4 hours away from Casper, Wyoming. So we went to the Lakota. We went to the church at the Lakota reservation, got bunked up, everything like that. I think it was like a 5 day trip in total. And I believe it was day two. I had never used a lawnmower before in my life. My dad always mowed the lawn. We didn't, you know. And they put me behind this lawnmower, the first time I've ever used a lawnmower, and tell me to go mow this cemetery. And I go mow the cemetery, and I'm out there for a couple hours, and they come out to break me and give me some water and everything like that. I will not let go of this lawnmower. This is my lawnmower. I am finishing this job, period. And so I do a couple more laps and realize this is, I mean, it's the cemetery on a few acres of land. It's not a huge cemetery, but it's like a giant backyard.
Wow.
Cemetery itself is probably an acre or at least a half acre. Um, so I'm just doing laps and loops and laps and loops, and every couple hours they try to come switch me out or try to give me some water. And I think I was drinking, but it was like I'm pretty sure I skipped lunch, and it was just I will not get off of this lawnmower. So I finished the job. I got like a youth group award for hardest worker that day. I'm sitting here like I had never done any drugs at that point in time, and I'm sitting here like I just had kind of like a spiritual experience from a hallucinogen, and I'm not really sure what's going on. So I'm chilling. It's like later than I'm supposed to be out. I think I was going to the bathroom or something, and I just see standing right in front of me like this 3.5 foot tall Chronicles of Narnia looking character, like two goat legs, human body, but still like animalistic and furry. Kind of looked like a little douchebag bodybuilder with like
Wow.
horns and everything like that. And I'm like, whoa! Like it was like a Scooby Doo episode. Like I like jumped out of my skin. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Oh
And
shit.
um,
Yeah,
it's
that's
freaking
a
me
wow.
yeah, it's freaking me out. And I go into I think it was like the kitchen of the church area. It was like a 3 story building, and the mess hall. So I go around there and into the back and everything. And I see another one of them just sitting on the top of the refrigerator. I'm like, what is going on? Um, and the first person I go and tell is my pastor, and he's like, yeah, we're about to send you home and like commit you to a mental institution. I'm like, what? I know what I just saw. I know that this was real. This was real as day. Like, I don't know how I saw it. Like, it felt weird. Like, it felt like I wasn't seeing something with my eyes. It was almost like I was seeing it with my what I've gone to research, what they call your pineal gland, like the third eye. Like that's what it felt like, where I could see it clear as day, but I knew like it was there, but it wasn't there for everybody. Like I could already tell that.
Maybe not in the physical world. Maybe like it wasn't like the atoms that you were seeing, like reflected by the light. Maybe it was something like in the spiritual world. Maybe that.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Well, it always felt like cutting into a different dimension. But I'm speaking as somebody that's had 15 years to deal with this now. I did not know that then, you know.
Yeah.
So lots of thoughts going through my head. Everything still trying to work, still trying to spread the good word. Everything that we were doing at that point in time. But I mean, they're like, Cam's hallucinating, like he needs to, we're gonna send him away. And word got around to the native pastor, the guy that actually ran the church. And he and another girl there that just she was native, you know. And it was funny because she was known as like one of the troublemakers, not so much. So it was kind of weird that she was the one and not like the youth leadership, you know, type person that really wears their shoulders high. Like, no, this was the girl that they catch smoking weed behind the church. And they both sit me down and they're like, this doesn't usually happen like this, but welcome to the club, bud. I'm like, what are you
Wow.
talking about? And he's like, this is, you know, it was so long ago and I was so uneducated, but it was essentially like, basically like we see these things on the reservation too. This is a common thing for me, her, and a lot of other people here. And what it really is highlighting evil around you and highlighting places that you don't need to be. And really, when you encounter one of these creatures, it's not that it's trying to hurt you, but it exists in a place that you will get hurt. Like it's not trying to warn you either, but it is your warning to when you see that, you don't need to be there, period. And later in life and stuff like that, and just being a shitty teenager and having drug problems, and or when I was your age, I look 40 when I was your age like this. But all that kind of stuff, like going through that, I ended up seeing him again once or twice. And yeah, I guess I'll throw it back to you on the initial experience before I go into like how that's affected me in life and things of that nature, because I feel like I just dropped a heavy load on you, but that is the basis of my story.
Well, first of all, wow. Like this is really, really cool. You know, when we were looking for people, we weren't expecting to, at first find anyone who has like that cool of a story. Like this is a really, really cool story. Like period. Also, like what I was gonna say about it, like the first thing that caught my attention, I mean, aside from whatever was happening later on, is the fact that you were really excited about mowing the lawn. And at first I thought, well, maybe that was kind of your thing. But then you sort of describe how you were a quote unquote shitty teenager, you had problems with drugs, and like mowing the lawn is something that most teenagers would want to do. And yeah, especially in a cemetery.
I didn't have problems with drugs until after this. And I
Right.
would say that the problems with drugs came partially from trying to self medicate this shit. um, but at this point in time, I mean, I was like a young Republican. I was really involved with my church. I was unrecognizable from the long haired hippie you see today. But I mean, at that point, my goal was really public service and to do all that. So that was on brand for me. And even through like all the drug struggles and stuff that I've had growing up, I always like to think of myself as like the Jack Sparrow, like the good pirate, you know,
Yeah.
because even though I've been involved in a lot of things I probably shouldn't have, I don't my moral compass doesn't seem like it's off. Again, a lot largely attributed and accredited to the experiences that I'm telling you about, where there's essentially these invisible little demons that if I get too deep into the underworld or just bad energy, they pop up and tell me to get my shit straight.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, and the reason I brought this up is because you really spent like a few minutes, like a few seconds describing how excited you were to do this job. And the reason I really paid attention to that is because perhaps, in many cultures, people have all these sorts of holidays or times when they come visit loved ones' graves and they make sure that the cemetery looks nice. They're cutting the grass, they mow the lawn, they clean everything up. They maybe put some food in there and things like that. So, this is just a little theory that just came to my mind. Like maybe the fact that it made you feel good and the fact that you actually cleaned up the cemetery, maybe you were sort of, I want to say, rewarded by the spirits with this gift of maybe seeing all these beings that appear to you that they're actually trying to warn you. What was that?
I I said you're giving me goosebumps. That gave me chills a little bit. I think that's a very valid theory, and I really appreciate the way that you verbalized it. At the time, this was a very overgrown cemetery. I don't want to say that there were people from the Battle of Wounded Knee in that cemetery because I don't know. What I do know is that a lot of people in that cemetery, their graves were not being tended to by anybody but the church. Uh, uh, I went there twice. I did this trip, and then I had gone back for a weekend, and neither time did I see anybody leaving roses or visiting graves or anything like that, which indicated to me that these are people that had been buried there a long time ago, and I don't think that there had been any recent burials in that cemetery by the time I got there. Uh, I don't know how far back the tenancy of that cemetery goes. Um, but I will say, like a lot of things in history, like Pablo Picasso and the Holocaust, the Battle of Wounded Knee did not happen as long ago as it feels like it did. Um, so I've never discounted the possibility that that could be it. But I think your theory is really strong there, and I do feel at the end of the day like it was a blessing, even though it felt like a curse at first.
Wow. I feel like many blessings feel like a curse. And yeah, I can sort of relate to the fact that you get a blessing that you actually think of as a curse. So, that really grabbed my attention. And so you were saying that you kept seeing those beings like throughout your life. Were they trying to warn the danger like continuously?
I mean, like the first few years, I didn't know at first, so I I probably didn't pick up, even though the pastors told me. I mean, that was a very quick conversation when I was also my head was spinning. You know what I mean? So there was only so much I was absorbing in real time. Um, I don't really know what I thought of it growing up because they would appear at random times and also only like the scariest times. Um, it was a lot around growing up in the Republican Party and that specific church that brought me to Wounded Knee in the first place were the places I would primarily encounter these beings. Um, I got away from that church and I try not to engage in politics at all. Because I know the deeper you go down those rabbit holes on either side, there's weird little wounded knee monsters waiting for me, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
that is
so,
very true. Yeah.
uh, yeah, just places like that that didn't seem like they would carry evil energy when you're a 15, 16, 17, 18-year old that you're trying to be involved with, like church or like community stuff is where I started seeing them pop up the most. And I'd say that it kind of dissipated through like my late teens, early 20s, right when I was about your age. And it came back. I mean, it was 2015. So, like, at this point, I had got caught running weed from Denver to Casper, Wyoming in my hometown. So I'm on felony probation. Uh, I had had a pretty good stand-up comedy career that went to shit and started rapping and hanging out with juggalos. And then they had the idea about let's go on this tour. And I had a vehicle. So it was like, yeah, let's go. I didn't realize they didn't have any money. So we like panhandled our way from Denver, Colorado, all the way out to essentially Appalachia between Kentucky and, or I'd say between Tennessee and Ohio. Uh, that's where things really started to get weird. And we took a really fucked up route, and I'm trying to remember exactly like what the back and forth was because there were two really supernatural experiences on this trip. One of them was the last time that I experienced the little wounded knee demons. Uh, but things were already starting to get really weird on this trip. I do think that I was with a couple other spiritually disturbed people,
Right.
maybe in different ways. None of us get along now after this experience. But the one thing that if you like asked all six of us, did this happen? We'd say, yeah, and we still can't explain it. But passing another cemetery, I had started to see the demons on other parts of this trip before, but we pass this cemetery and we pull up to this train crossing. It doesn't have the control arms like they do in major cities, but the lights are on. And I mean, we can see mile that way at the very least. And we're sitting here like the lights are on. We're stopped at the train tracks. We've been here for like a couple minutes now. There's no train. Um, so I look at everybody and we kind of make somebody was asleep in the back, but the five of us that are awake are just like, gun it, dude. So I do foot on the gas. Is like gonna drive over there like regular. The second my front tires hit the tracks, I am pedal to the metal trying to get out of there because I see the
Wow.
train. And it is the brightest, scariest like light I have ever seen because that headlight is just coming straight into us. And I'm driving a Chevy G30 van, which is like a really old 1980s van, and it has a short bus conversion on top of it, so it's lifted a little. So we're seeing this come dead on, and I swear I see this light and this train hit the back corner of my bus through the rear view mirror, and I see it start to take us out. Next thing you know, I'm on the other side of the tracks. We're good, and all of us are screaming like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" Like it all because I'm thinking it's like a Mission Impossible thing, right? Where we just barely missed the train, and they're all hollering, "Cam, there wasn't a train." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Dude, there was no train. We don't see anything back there, nothing." And I'm like, "Are you what?" Like, dude, we just almost got hit by a train. What are you talking about? And they're like, "We don't see anything. There's not a truck, dude. We got out. We don't see a train going that way. Nothing." So, like, I always explained it to myself as like, well, maybe it was just like, what's the opposite of a caboose? The caboose is the back. The caboose is the butt. Is it
The
whatever the front of the train is, the engine of the
Yeah,
train? Like maybe it was just like that, like a semi without a trailer. Maybe it was just going.
right, with the wagons, but
Yeah, or maybe a truck
still.
or something. But we didn't see anything. And I told that story to one of my friends like 6 months later or something like that. He's like, "No, you got hit by a ghost train." What's a ghost train? And he like sent me some really vague literature on it, and I couldn't really Google much about it. But I guess that is like a more mainstream thing that happens to people that happened to me in the middle of Ohio or whatever. But yeah, that was a real thing. Um, Sorry, I wanted to tell that part because I do have like a mainstream ghost story, and that's the
Oh
one.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's an incredible story, and I have so much to say about this. First of all, it's really cool. Like that's that's really amazing. The second thing I was gonna mention, like even like if the train didn't have any wagons in there and it was just like this little part, you still it was nighttime and probably had the lights on and things like that. So you should have been able to see it, like if it was there. And you said that you were able to clearly see the left hand side, the right hand side, the railroad. So that sounds like a supernatural experience to me.
There was moonlight, like there was light out there. It was the middle of the night. It was somewhere between 10 p.m. and 2, 3 a.m. probably. Like we had no shame. We're just rolling through there. But yeah, all of us completely sober, all of us otherwise drug users, but we could not afford drugs on this trip. So yeah,
Right. Yeah, I think that the fact that, you're describing you guys as drug users, I think you can't really, hallucinate simultaneously about the same thing, right? So there goes that. So it's definitely the one of the really most interesting experiences I've heard. And I was actually a fan of this show called Supernatural. I don't know if you've seen it. Um no, it's really good. It's about 2 brothers hunting monsters, demons, things like that, and it's really fun. It kinda has, like, the kind of vibe you're describing about, like, all those experiences, they're traveling, throughout all these states in this really cool car, and, they're catching monsters and demons, and basically, one of the earliest episodes they had was about the ghost car. So it was basically someone got killed in this small town, and there's this ghost car that was running over people, killing them. And, they basically had to, the 2 brothers, the main characters of the story, they had to catch the ghost that was doing it, and they had to, I don't know, burn its body in the grave or something like that. And basically it stopped. So basically, yeah, that's a
That's a
was the car on a different plane of existence, or was it like a real car with a ghost driver?
no, the car was like in a different, state of existence, but it was physically affecting people. Like it could actually hurt someone. Yeah, it was an actual ghost car. They could disappear or like appear in someone's apartment or something like that. Uh,
Because I've always wondered if we weren't that second ahead to where it felt like a Mission Impossible thing, if that train would have actually been able to take us out.
Wow, that's a really interesting point. In that particular episode, the car was actually able to hit people, but in other episodes of that show, people were able to walk through ghosts just fine. So I guess based on that show, which is of course fictional,
but still, it was based on some
Oh,
true
okay.
stories.
but yeah, it's fictional. But it was based on some true stories. It seems like ghosts can sort of choose whether they can actually affect you on a physical level. So if they want to hurt you, they will try to do it. Um, so yeah.
It's funny. I actually don't watch shows like that because of the experiences I've had. Like anytime somebody's like, "You want to go to a haunted house?" No. Do you want to
Yep.
watch Ghost Hunters? No.
Nope.
Do you want to go ghost hunting? Hell no. I'll find
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
want to find them.
yeah, I feel like some people just have this gift where they can actually interact and see supernatural things versus it can be really fun to those who don't have that kind of connection with like the quote unquote other world, it might be just like a funny game to them, just going to like a ghost house or whatever and like trying to catch a ghost. But like people who have actually, encountered something supernatural, they would never do that unless they have like a mission, like I said in that show, it was like their destiny to fight against evil and things like that. But you were also saying that you were seeing those demons right before that happened, right?
Yeah, I can't. So, well, I mean, we had made it through Missouri, so I think it was right before it happened because by the time we got to our location in Ohio, we were all fighting, we were all pissed off at each other. We were all also it'd been a pretty traumatizing trip. We were all scared. So it was my vehicle and it had gotten kind of nasty. So I left all those motherfuckers in Elyria, Ohio, and drove back to Denver, and they figured out their own way back in a rental car. Mind you, I was the only person in the vehicle with a driver's license.
Wow.
And these are all like 30-year-old dudes too. I was the youngest one. They're all in between like 26 and 35, and I'm over here at like 22, 23. Now this part of the story is crazy though. This is supernatural or not. This is one of the weirdest situations I've ever been in.
Yeah.
So I want to say we had performed in Clarksville, Tennessee, right?
Yep.
And it did not go well. Um, I think that was no, I think we went and performed in Ohio. No, no, that was where we got in the fist fight. So by that point in time, we're like all done with each other, right? But no, we didn't fight yet. This was after then we were so stressed we got in the fist fight and then drove back to Illyria and I ditched him. So we're all still in it together. We're all still getting along at this point. And I want to say coming up 71 or 75, one of those interstates that connects Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. We're coming up from the Tennessee side into Kentucky, and I want to say that it was like exit 34 going north. I am out of gas. We have to stop at the next gas station. I see a little town. I pull off into it. We need gas. Um, we pull off onto this exit and we see we see two gas stations, one on each side, and then there's like a hotel over here. And the first gas station says it's all zeros on the gas pricing and their lights are off, and so is the other one, but their lights are on. We decide that we're going to try the one with the lights off first because there's a cop sitting over at the one with the lights on, and there's caution tape all around all around the gas pumps, but it's open. We're sitting here like, yeah, we're in Kentucky. We got a little bit of weed. We don't want to get busted, so we go over to that first gas station. And all we have to do is take a lap around the pumps. We see that the inside's torn to shit. Those gas pumps aren't working. But there's a black truck that just sitting next to the gas station, starts its engine, lights turn on, and it just starts following us.
Wow.
Fuck is going on? So now we're a little bit elevated the way that all the geography is, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go try that gas station, but we look to the right, and there is a hotel, decent sized hotel, like a Clarion Days Inn style, probably 3 or 4 stories, and we notice that nobody is following the line directions on the parking lot, and there's just all these cars and broken down motorhomes and stuff like that just stacked in there wherever they can fit, like the world's worst music festival. And we can see that it's that way on the backside of the hotel too, and that's where the little demons started popping up. But I don't even have time to pay attention to them because I cannot figure out what dimension of life that we are in. So we go over to the other gas station. That black truck follows us over there. We're sitting like grabbing every metal bar or knife or anything that I have, and we're ready to jump out of this thing like it's a clown car and just clobber whoever's in this truck. And we pull by, and there's not a cop in the cop car. There is somebody working, like it is. I think it was a Valero, just a regular Valero, but no gas pumps, no anything. What the hell? I can't get gas here too. And like that's when basically like I started seeing all of the wounded knee creatures. Like there was one at the gas station, there was one in the passenger seat of the truck, there's one over here. It's just like, bro, you need to leave or you and all of your friends are going to die sitting here. So like the last weird thing I see is like we couldn't see it at first, but there's like this big like metal welding shop, tin building looking thing uh behind the gas station, and we're like, maybe something there, and we see it, and it just has black spray paint on plywood and it says now open. We're like, open for what? So I'm running on fumes, dude. So we get back on the highway. I think I'm about to break down, but I would rather be on the side of the highway with no resources than anything back in that town. I am just
Nope.
hoping that we can get far enough that there is somebody that will pass us and not be from that town. Um, so we get to the next town over, completely normal town, pull into a Flying J or Texaco or whatever they had out there. and pull up to the gas pump, and I just go inside, and I mean, I look like I just saw a ghost because I'm pretty sure I just saw seven of them. And I asked uh, uh, the clerk, I'm like, what the fuck is that next town over? He's like, what are you talking about? And he's talking like the town doesn't exist, which I'm thinking we're going to go into this conversation that I just hallucinated the whole thing. And I'm like, dude, 3 miles back, you cannot see this town, but you see that one. You pull off, there's two closed gas stations. There's a hotel that's been taken over and a whole bunch of regular houses. What the hell is that place? I don't remember what he called the town, but he's like, oh, you accidentally went there. And I guess the folklore of the town was that it used to be like a coal mining town or some sort of industry that failed in that town. Um, Basically, everybody got hooked on meth and heroin, and started cooking it and everything like that. And he's like, because I'm in a yellow bus, he's like, you're in quite a vehicle to be pulling in and out of there. I hope you know that the DEA, FBI, and everybody else took pictures of you going in and out of that town, and you're probably going to get pulled over for drug running further up. I was
Wow.
like, huh. But yeah, and I've looked it up. I haven't ever really been able to find the town on the internet. I think it's Interstate 71. But it's coming out of Clarksville, Tennessee into eastern Kentucky. Right off the interstate, the absolute scariest town I have ever accidentally pulled into within the United States. Shit, scarier than anything I've ever seen in Mexico or Europe or anywhere else I've been. Like, this is like if I died and went to hell, if hell looked like this, that's what I'd expect it to look like.
Wow. Wow, that's a really good description here. I want to say that maybe so. The first thing that came to my mind is you mentioned that this town had a coal mining industry, and basically coal mining requires a lot of transportation and hence trains. So maybe there and something dark happened in the town, and maybe there was like a train driver or something like that, or like a coal miner, and maybe they're now operating this quote unquote ghost train. So maybe that's a possibility, or maybe you just sort of got like bad energy, like bad vibes from the town, and perhaps it sort of carried on with you. And then next time you were crossing the railroad, it's something that, kept on going with you from that coal mining town.
I have never thought about that. I'm really glad we talked about this. That's a theory that I have never thought of. Now I don't know if it was coal or oil, but Appalachia area, I think it was coal. Um, that is a really interesting theory because yeah, remember this all happened 10 years ago now. Um, but yeah, I have never thought of that we entered this town pissed off its ghosts, and by the time that we got to Ohio, there was a train that was ready to just smoke us
Yeah.
because we that's insane. That's a really good theory, and I'm sitting here speechless, and I'm the one that the shit happened to. Like,
Well, I've just seen so many supernatural episodes, and like I said, they are sort of based on like the true stories. So maybe like that's how I'm getting all these theories from.
I love it because I never correlated the two. The only reason I told you that story was because it was on the same trip.
Right. That's really interesting.
Up until this point, I've always felt like the ghost train thing was completely random, like absolutely, and I almost didn't tell you about it because I didn't think that it fit in. But really, as part of the story, the little wounded knee demons aren't much of a character other than I started seeing them again and I knew that I shouldn't be there.
Yeah, like just like in everything that anything that requires some kind of investigation, like cops in those cop shows are like, hey, every single detail matters. So I guess like when we're talking about all these details that we maybe perhaps don't even find really relevant, sometimes they can actually become relevant. And who knows, maybe that's actually what happened. Anyway, I was gonna ask you, like you're describing all these beings as demons. But what you also said is that they are there to warn you about like the upcoming danger. So what I was wondering is how does their appearance make you feel? I mean, aside from the first time when you were absolutely scared, like how do they make you feel throughout your life? Do you get like bad energy from them? Do you think they're evil? Do they seem evil?
I I don't know if they are evil themselves, but I do get bad energy from them, and they seem to be leeches on bad energy situations. Um, to where if I recognize their presence in that room, that's not a room that I need to be in.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, like
Well, yeah.
the effect they have toward me is like they're my angels, but they are demonic looking, demonic feeling, negative energy feeling. Um, you know, have you ever had goldfish and you got those little algae eaters that like suck the side of the glass and keep the fish tank clean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, I sort of know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I feel like that's what these are for bad energy. And they're
Okay,
drawn
that's
to places with bad energy like flies to shit and they go eat the shit.
Wow. That's really interesting. So, yeah, maybe like we talked about earlier, maybe you got this blessing of being able to see the negative creatures, and because you're seeing them, you sort of know what places to avoid. So maybe yeah, maybe they are in fact, pretty negative, but the fact that you see them, they're your personal I don't want to use the word angels honestly because the way you describe them, they're demonic looking, but the very fact that you have this gift of seeing them is something that is possibly saving your life. And yeah, going like we're wrapping up pretty soon. So going back to what you said in the beginning, these supernatural experiences saved your life. That's what you said. So how how exactly did these events impact your life? Like what happened? So aside from obviously, getting the gift of knowing what places to avoid, what else really helped you with these experiences?
I think that they open my mind up to dimensional energy. Um, because like I was saying at first, I have always been more on the Judeo Christian spectrum. But I think that they open my mind up to I don't know if it's like extra dimensional energy, but things that are still out there. And I've been able to kind of flip that on its head and use it in my professional career to where I find when I meet successful people that have good energy that I'm drawn to, that some of that kind of rubs off on me a little bit. And I find myself more successful because of that, because of those interactions, like not only from the education and the experiences that I got from them. I do think that there is a spiritual end of that as well. And really the three people that I've gotten to work with for a short amount of time or come into contact with or have a conversation with that I feel like I came out on the other side like swinging and stronger are Damon John, Mike Tyson, and Machine Gun Kelly. So like even though I don't see or experience the opposite of these like negative energy algae eaters, I have experienced the opposite in real people that seem to be blessed in their own lives that once you shake their hand and have a conversation that you move on just a little bit stronger. Redman's another one that's on that list is just like I feel like I understand life better, not only from a mental perspective, but from a spiritual perspective too. Um, and I don't know. I will say that when I was born, I have a really weird birth story. My mom was 38, my dad was 41. I'm the product of a failed vasectomy. My next closest in age sibling is 15 years older than me, and we're full blooded siblings. And then when I was born half dead. I was purple head to toe, 2 knots to my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck. My right arm was paralyzed, and I'm right handed now, which is kind of weird. Um, but with correlations and stuff like that, I've always wondered if just that initial experience coming into the world, not necessarily all the way alive, has let me see things for lack of a better term, that really only dead people can see. And that maybe I see behind the curtain, lift the veil a little bit onto that kind of stuff, which has helped me in life and helped me help others in life. But at the same time, I don't see everything that's going on behind that curtain, behind that veil. I just have one shade of rose colored glasses where I feel like I can see this. And again, I haven't seen it in 10 years. I don't know if that's because I'm on a higher path and I'm doing better in life and I don't get into those situations, because honestly, gets that bad again, I'm pretty sure that I would.
Wow. Wow, that's honestly, that's truly inspirational, and I'm sorry that you had to go through all these experiences. But what I like from like some things that I've heard and witnessed, when these things happen, when a person barely survives or they're born in a way that people wouldn't really expect, I think there's this, you know, they have a certain destiny that they need to be alive. They need to make it. So, people that are born this way, they are here for what I believe is for a really important reason. They're here for something really, really important, really huge. So the experiences that you're describing are kind of proving it. So I think this is really amazing. Um, I was going to ask you one more thing about these beings that you're seeing that you used to see. Do you have any drawings of them or anything that would describe them, like in text format, maybe?
I'm not a visual artist, so I can't draw.
Right.
um,
But you could try. I mean,
yeah, sure, fuck it.
if that's what you want, if that makes you feel comfortable, of course.
I'm not a drawer. I mean, I can kind of give you a visual representation.
That's fine. I mean, I'm a horrible drawer, so
Kind of got some hooves here. Like they're kind of fat assed. Like a human body. I mean, have you seen Chronicles of Narnia? Do you know Mr.
Yeah,
Tumnus?
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
so Mr. Tumnus is like 6'5", though, right?
right.
Take Mr. Tumnus and give him dwarfism, because these
Okay.
things, I mean, they can always be small. I've never seen them get bigger than like a full grown dwarf human being, but I mean, this is essentially it. I have to turn my blur off. Hold on. My office is
Mm.
dirty as fuck.
That's fine. I don't care. It
There we
gives
go.
kind of a vibe. Okay, that's. Can you bring it
No,
back a little bit? Yep.
there it
Oh,
is.
that's interesting. Yeah,
So
honestly, yeah.
we're talking like the legs are Mr. Thomas Chronicles of Narnia period, and I mean
yeah.
really kind of so is the body. You're really just looking at like a shirtless dude. The head is where it kind of gets a little snouty, and you don't know if it's got like the dog mouth or like a human mouth, and definitely horns and just ugly fucking face, like the ugliest, you know what I mean, like face you could see. So yeah, that's what they look like to me, and I'm just talking these little fucking creatures, absolutely repulsive looking, and uh yeah, like they remind me of pigeons in a way, but without the cool parts of pigeons, because pigeons are actually really smart, but they're just like little human rats with like wildlife characteristics to them that are around like antelope, moose, but still like with like the energy of like an evil lion or something like that. Like they're very cryptid creatures. And
Interesting.
honestly, when I hear stuff about like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and all this other stuff that I don't necessarily believe in, I also don't write it off 100% because I have experienced cryptid creatures. I kind of feel like I am one myself sometimes. I just hope nobody's ever reported a Bigfoot sighting because I woke up at 7 a.m. and got my mail shirtless. That's my biggest fear in this community.
Wow. So, honestly, yeah, they do look demonic. Are they ever talking, making any sounds, or they're just like an image?
That's a really good question. So, do you remember how I said like I guess the first time I might not have realized it, but that I was kind of seeing these things in augmented reality through my pineal gland, not so much my eyes themselves.
Right.
Um, that's kind of how the audio works too, but like I don't hear anything. I
Hmm.
can I can like see mouths moving, and it's not like the mouth moving like mine is. It's like twisty and it kind of reminds me of those rabbits that they're finding that look like zombies with all the stuff growing off them. Like that's how their mouths move, like a day
Wow.
almost like Davy Jonesy tentacles and
Uh,
stuff like that. So it's not like I could read their lips. But no, I don't hear them at all, but it looks like they're making noise.
Wow. That's really interesting. And speaking of like the sort of vision you're describing, um, I myself have seen maybe like when I was a lot younger, maybe I was like 5 or 7, I might have seen like some things, but they were sort of like in the very corner of my vision. Like I thought I saw something move or like someone stand like almost behind me, and then I would just look and there would be nothing there. But I could have sworn that there was actually something at the very like corner of, like, my vision. But
are those
I
things
get
in
that.
front of you
These
or
these things
mhm,
are directly in front of me. I get what you're talking about too. And I haven't read any further into that. It's not the same thing.
right.
When I think that I see something in the corner of my eye or my eyes are playing tricks on me or something like that, like I feel like it's my actual retina doing that
yeah.
versus like looking into another dimension accidentally.
No, that's definitely very different. Yeah, it's just yeah, the reason I'm asking is because yeah, you're definitely seeing these things in front. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to, describe them the way you did. So that's a truly different level of experience.
And
And
it is worth saying I see them front of center, and if I like turn my head and turn back, they're still in the same place they were. Like that's physically where they're located.
right. So yeah, it does seem like you're sort of seeing the other world, maybe like the other universe or some kind of like spiritual I want to say like yeah, I guess the word world is good. What I think is that the human eye isn't able to see everything, and basically we're surrounded by energy. We're surrounded by so many things that we can't see or feel, and some people they maybe they get this gift or a curse, like however that affects one's life.
It's
Yeah.
both.
It's both, yeah. I can totally imagine it being both. So some people just have this superpower of being able to see like maybe some quote unquote channels of energy. So that is truly amazing. And yeah, we're kind of running out of time here, but it was so nice to have you here. I have like one more thing to do, but I would love to ask more questions, but I gotta go. But this is truly amazing. We weren't expecting something like that. You're describing your life experience. This is something that's really unique, and that's amazing. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. I really appreciate that.
Not a problem. When I was looking for podcasts, it was for something completely different. So I'm really glad you had me on. And yeah, um, whenever you post it, feel free to use my real name. Instagram is versus_humanity, VERSUS. Collab me, tag me, whatever. I hope your podcast does well, and that what's it called? I hope the Story Hunters is one of the most widely listened to podcasts here in the next few years. Keep it up. You're a very good interview.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Not
All
a
right.
problem. You have an excellent day.